Writing decimal fractions. In our last lesson, we introduced the concept of reading decimals, how to read decimals. And in this lesson, we're going to learn how to write decimal fractions. Well, if you remember in the last lesson, we discussed the concept that decimals are actually fractions whose denominator is not written. The denominator is not written, but it is designated by the place value. And here's an example. We have the decimal place values, and if you remember, the first place to the right of the decimal point is the tens, the second is the hundredths, the third is the thousandths, the fourth is the 10,000ths, the fifth is the 100,000ths, and then the millions, and so on. And so when we are reading a decimal, what we do is we read the number. This number is 503, and we name it by the place value of the last digit. So this is tens, hundreds, thousandths, so this would be 503 thousandths. So if we were to write the decimal fraction .503, it's really 503 thousandths. And suppose we also reviewed the fact that if we had a mixed decimal, in other words, we had a whole number on the left of the decimal point, well, we read the whole number, 75. This becomes and 75 and 503 thousandths. So that's just a quick review on reading decimals. Now we'll take a look at how to write decimals. Well, let's take a look at an example here. This says write 7/10 as a decimal. Write 7/10 as a decimal. Well, if we want to write it as a decimal, we just write the number, the whole number, the number 7. And since it says 7/10, well, I know it's the first place to the right of the decimal sign, the decimal point. So this is 7/10. So if I have to write 7/10 as a decimal, it's just 0.7. Let's take a look at our next example. It says write 9/100 as a decimal. 9/100 as a decimal. Well, I know I'm going to have the number 9, but the number 9 has to be in the hundredths place. So the first place after the decimal is the tens, the second place is the hundredths, so 9/100 would be decimal point 09, because I have the number 9 and it is in the hundredths place. Let's look at our next example. Write 428 thousandths as a decimal. 428 thousandths. Well, I write the number 428 with a decimal point. Now let's see. This is tens, this is hundreds, this is thousands. So decimal point 428 is 428 thousandths. Our next example says write 15 thousandths as a decimal. 15 thousandths. Well, I'll write the number 15. Now, this is tens, hundredths, so I need a third decimal place. So, tens, hundreds, thousands. Decimal point 015, or decimal point 15, is 015 is 15 thousandths. 15 thousandths. Let's take a look at a mixed decimal. A mixed decimal. Here we're asked to write 23 and 6/10 as a decimal. 23 and 6/10. Well, we know this is the whole number, 23. We know that and means the decimal point. And now we have to have 6/10. Well, we know the first place after the decimal is the tenths place. So 23 and 6/10. Whole number 23 and 6 is in the tenths place. Our next problem says write 986 and 38 hundredths as a decimal. 986 and 38 hundredths as a decimal. Well, we know this is a mixed decimal. We have 986, that's our whole number, and now 38 hundredths. Well, 10 hundredths, 38 hundredths, 986 and 38 hundredths. Here are some practice exercises for you to do on your own. It says write the following decimals: 4/10, 7 hundredths, 64 hundredths, 128 thousandths, 46 thousandths. So what I'd like you to do on your piece of paper or in your notebook, if you're working in a notebook, put the DVD on pause so you can see the screen and complete these problems, and then turn the DVD back on again, and then we'll go over the answers and see how you did. Well, let's see how we did here. All right, the first problem said 4/10. Well, I know that the tenths place is the first place after the decimal point. So decimal point 4 would be 4/10 because that's the tenths place. In the second problem, it said 7 hundredths. 7 hundredths. Well, I have hundredths, so I'm going to have two places, tens and hundredths. Since this is 7 hundredths, decimal point 07 is 7 hundredths. Let me put a line here so we don't get confused. Okay, our problem here is 64 hundredths. 64 hundredths. Well, this is the tens place in decimals, and this is a hundred. So if I put decimal point 64, that's 64 hundredths. Our next one, 128 thousandths. Well, I know in decimals that tens, hundreds, thousandths, 128 thousandths. Because the third places are thousandths place. Now, last one, 46 thousandths. Well, I know thousandths is the third. So I have 10, hundredths, thousandths, and the number is 46. So I know that the sixth digit has to be in the thousandths place. So I need to put a 0 here. And that decimal 046 is 46 thousandths. Let's take a look at these problems. Write the following decimals: 3 and 28 hundredths, 27 and 1 thousandths, 129 and 3 thousandths. I want you to shut the DVD off, put it on pause, and work these three problems, and then turn it back on again, and we'll go over. See how you did. Okay, let's take a look at how we did. Well, 3 and 28 hundredths. Well, this is a mixed decimal. So I have 3, and the decimal point is and. Now I have 28 hundredths. Well, I know hundredths, we have 10 and hundredths, so 28, the 8 is in the hundredths place, so 3 and 28 hundredths. Let's take a look at this one. 27 and 1 hundredths. Okay, well, a mixed decimal again. 27, decimal point is and. Now I have 1 hundredth. So I'm going to have the hundredths place. This is tens, this is hundredths. 1 is in the hundredths place, so I'll have to have the 0 there. So 27 and 1 hundredth. And let's take a look at the last one. 129 and 3 thousandths. Well, this is a mixed decimal, the whole number, 129, and is the decimal point now, 3 thousandths. Well, I have to have the thousandths, the 3 has to go in the thousandths place, 10 hundredths thousandths, so the 3 goes there, and I have to put a 0 in the 10 and a 0 in the 100. So that number is 129 and 3 thousandths. Okay, well, quick review then, writing decimals. Writing decimals is fairly simple if you understand the decimal place values. So if you know that this is the tens place, the hundredths, the thousandths, the 10 thousandths, the 100 thousandths, and so on. Well, let's take this one, 7 hundredths. Well, we know this is tens, this is hundredths, there are 7 hundredths, and we have to put a 0 at 7 hundredths. Pretty simple. Let's take a look at this one. 4 and 6 ten thousandths. Well, we have the whole number, 4. Now we have 6, but 6 has to be in the 10 thousandths place. Tens, hundreds, thousandths, 10 thousandths. So the 6 goes there, and then we have to fill the rest in with zeros, and that number is 4 and 6 ten thousandths. And that's all there is to writing decimals. Thank you very much.